the big danger is to never change your mind. So maybe can you talk a bit about that principle to not be so afraid about judging the market the wrong way? Just don't stay wrong and change and adapt if you need to.
Okay, it's such a critical point, and again, just lucky to have lots of great mentors, and one of my early mentors had the line, right, which is, being wrong, totally fine. Staying wrong, not fine. You have to have the ability to change your mind, and I've tweeted this and talked about it many times, in that winners lose or fail or are wrong way more than losers. I mean, it's just not even close. And it's because winners aren't afraid of being wrong, of failing. And so they try more new things. They put on more positions. They take more risks. And the key, back to the original, wisdom from Soros that I shared with Pomp, that, it's not whether you're right or wrong. It's how much money you make when you're right and how much money you lose when you're wrong. And so the best of the best, the Julian Robertsons, and where I got that wisdom from about pressing winners press winners. The losers cut losers, right? There's the famous picture of Paul Tudor Jones in his dorm room at Virginia with that on the wall. So that one's easy, right? Admitting your mistakes fast, that's the most important thing, because then a small loss doesn't turn into a big loss. Pressing your winners came from, I've been lucky. I've backed pretty much every spin out from Julian Robertson's shop, over the years, whether it was Blue Ridge or Lone Pine or Maverick, Tiger Global, all these things. We invested with these guys. And I went and I got to talk to them. And I have the, books full of notes. In fact, I should probably put it into a book someday, talking to these incredible investors, now manage 10% of the long short money on the planet. They're all trained by the same guy. I said, what made Julian so great? And without fail, they always said, he had the ability to double up. Most people double down, right? Most people are so afraid of admitting they're wrong. They say, no, I'm right and the market's wrong. So they buy a stock for $10 and it goes to 8. And they say, I'll buy more. And then it goes to 5. I say, I'll buy more. No, okay, you're wrong, right? You made a mistake. And the key is that Julian had the ability, he buys at 10 and it goes to 20. He's like, okay, buy more. Like, no, shouldn't we take profits? And if you look at the history of most investors, and Peter Lynch talks about this, they water their weeds and they pull their flowers. So as soon as they make a little bit of profit, they're selling because they're afraid they're going to lose the profit. Instead, when their weeds start to really flourish, or their mistakes start to get big, they double down. And that's the worst possible thing to do. So I really do try to focus on making lots of investments, partnering with lots of great management teams and lots of great investors. And then if things don't work out, you sell and move on to the next idea. And I think part of it is, if you're intellectually curious, if you've got a fast motor, you've always got ideas, right? I always have ideas. They may not all be good ideas, and that's okay. You can try them out. And the more things you try and the more positions you put on, the more chances you have to win. And if you press those winners, then they can become a big part of your portfolio and your net worth.
With the background you have relative to everybody else, is it real estate? Is it shipping? Whatever is it that really will drive you, where you will work without thinking about how many hours you work? And it sounds a very simplistic question, but it's actually a very complicated question. I have one mentee who's never came back. I mean, he never, so far at least, has not found it. But others said, came back and said, you know what? I really like real estate, and I'm an economist. I'm stuck in a nowhere position. And say, okay, so what we do right now is that you pretend you work for me, and now I want you to be the leading expert in the world on REITs, which is publicly listed real estate companies. So you will write a report every month where you give me your advice. You create a model that encapsulates the cash flow and the attractiveness of this REIT. And, of course, the fast forward story here is that 6 months later, Nordea hired him as the leading expert on strategic initiatives on real estate, right? It wasn't, I didn't do anything. I just asked the question, what is your interest? What is it you're supposed to do? So my pointer to everyone out there is that, you know, be very selective, but and even though it's something you don't think is going to work, the art world, or I mean, why shouldn't that work? But I'm just making an example here. Or specialty brew beers with Danes likes or whatever. Go for it. Go fully for it, because you're going to be the best in what you do. That is always what you should try to achieve. Not the best in the world, but the best that you can be in the version of what you do. Again, I sound like a grandfather here, but it really is down to that, because you're all going to have the same CV. You're all going to have the same things that you did at the business school or at university. What makes you different is how you think and how you act relatively to how you think. That is my advice.
Never really planned a career. It was more opportunistic, and I have a great deal of trust in life. But what is very important is that I think a lot of people have opportunities. You need to identify the good ones from the bad ones, and it's a mix of gut feeling, I guess, but also really trying to take a step back and think, okay, is that something where I'm going to be happy? And what makes me happy? Well, what makes me happy is hopefully what makes a lot of people happy, and it's to continue to learn. And I think that you continue to learn until you die, basically. If it's to do something that is the same over and over and over again, I think that will not be particularly exciting. And the problem with not being excited is that you will get bored, and quite frankly, it will affect the way you work, and so the quality of your work would be affected by what I dare to call happiness at work. After all, we spend much of our life at work than whatever we do privately, at least for most of us. And so whatever you do in the office better make you happy. So from time to time you will take the wrong decisions, and I certainly did that at some point in my career. I mean, prior to embarking in an MBA, I certainly spent I think it was 5 or 6 months with the wrong people. And I almost immediately, because 6 months is a pretty short period of time, I almost immediately resigned from that group, because it didn't make me happy. It made me very uncomfortable. I wasn't sharing a lot of values with the people I was working for. And I think that you also have to have the courage to admit that from time to time you will do mistakes, but you need to react on them.
Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you learned something new. If you like this content, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. See you later.